All right, welcome everybody. Let's go ahead and get started for the Redevelopment Commission meeting on March the 21st, 2022. First item up on the agenda is roll call.
Deb Hutton here.
Deborah Meyerson here.
Randy Cassidy here.
David Walter here.
Lee Canardi here. Staff members present.
John Zodi, Hand Department.
Christina Finley, Hand Department.
Larry Allen, legal. Sorry.
John Hewitt, Hand Department.
Jeff Underwood, Controller Treasurer.
Brent Pierce, Hand Department.
Alex Crowley, Economic and Sustainable Development.
All right, welcome everybody. Next item on the agenda is reading of the minutes for March 7th, 2022, and executive summary for March 7th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion.
Deb Hutton here. I make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Deborah Meyerson, I'll second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor, vote via roll call, please.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Cindy Canardi, yes. Passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda, is examination of claims for March the 4th, 2022 for $153,387.04. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Deb Hutton, I move that we approve the claims of March the 4th, 2022 as read.
Deborah Meyerson, I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Vote via roll call, please.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Cindy Canardi, yes. Passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is examination of payroll registers for March 11th, 2022 for $34,420.85. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
This is David Walter. I'll move we accept the payroll registers.
Deborah Meyerson, I'll second.
I have a first and a second. I need a vote via roll call, please.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Lee Canardi, yes. Payroll registers passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is report of officers and committees. And first up is director's report.
Thank you, Madam President. John Zodi with the Hand Department. Not too much of a report for commissioners today, just noting the Hopewell development. We will see lots of activity there. I mean, obviously there's been a lot of activity, but we'll see a lot over the next few months with updates to the RDC as we look at facilities like the core building and the agreements that need to be in place there. So stay tuned on that, and just wanted to let you know that a lot of that was going to be coming down the pike here in the next 2 to 3 months. So that really concludes my report today, unless there are any questions.
All right, hearing no questions, legal report.
First, I would just mention, this is Larry Allen with the legal department. That the Redevelopment Commission met in executive session just prior to this at 4:30 to discuss real property transactions as pursuant to Indiana Code 514.1.5 6.1. Those conversations are confidential per Indiana Code. So just remind everybody of that. Additionally, I wanted to give kind of a shout out to Christina Finley for getting out the packet, even though she was very sick. She was very kind working on that, and kind of in a remarkable feat of personal strength for no reason other than her dedication, sent out the packet. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Larry.
Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, I'll move on. Treasurer's report, please.
No report, but happy to answer questions as the meeting goes along.
All right, thank you. Business development updates.
Hi, it's Alex Crowley. I'm going to not have a report today. I've got the first item on the agenda.
Thank you. So moving on to new business, resolution 22-15, approval of agreement with Axis Architecture for Trades Tech Center. Who would like to speak to this?
I can start, and if Larry wants to correct all my mistakes, feel free to jump in. So all of you know, I believe already, that Axis Architecture has been working with the city and the team for the EDA grant, which is the Trades District Technology Center. They've been working with us now almost a year, I think. And so what this agreement does is it really just kind of locks in and formalizes the fees and responsibilities that they have for the project moving forward. You'll see in the resolution, we had very thorough vetting process at the time that we were beginning the work to get the grant, to pursue the grant. The grant was awarded. Axis did a lot of work, both in helping us to put together the grant, but then also to redesign. If you remember, we had to kind of downsize the building a little bit based on available funding. So they've been very involved in the whole process. And essentially, this is setting up for what we hope is really the meat of all of this, which is the process of completing finalized designs, costing all of that out, going to bid, and then ultimately building the building. This is in line with the presentation and proposal they've given us originally. You'll see that really on the fee structure, we're trying to be as detailed as possible. One of the issues that everybody should be aware of is that the cost estimate that was put together at the time that we submitted for the grant has changed based on construction costs and supply chain issues. So one of the things we wanted to do is reflect in the agreement that even if construction costs are going up, because fees like this typically are a percentage of construction costs, we wanted to lock it in at the amount that was originally conceived, because in our opinion, the design fees shouldn't increase if construction costs increases. There's no material change in the effort necessary. It's just the underlying cost structure. So you'll see that that's why it was reflected that way in the agreement. So you'll see it's a percentage against the original construction cost plus some lead consulting and design work that has to be done to meet the city's ordinance. And I think that-that's all we need to say at this point. Just opening up for questions, unless, Larry, you think there are other highlights that we need to call out here.
So I think that covers it. So.
Are there any questions for Alex regarding resolution 22-15 from the commissioners?
The only thing we're looking at is the design cost at this present moment. Anything from a budgetary standpoint, from a construction cost, will be at a later date. We're fixed into our design cost at this particular point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One thing in the agreement, delivery times that we're looking at, we're still on timeframes that we're working with.
Alex, do you have insight into that? I don't know. Could you get?
Yeah, from a timing perspective, things are on track. We are trying to get so they have presented us some schematic design updates and costs associated with that. Obviously, we have to go to the final kind of cost estimating and then bidding process. So that's ahead of us still. I would like to reiterate, and I think I've mentioned this before to the RDC, but just to reiterate that there will be a gap between the original estimate of costs and what actual costs will likely come in at. That gap can only be filled with incremental funding. Obviously, the alternative would be to further downsize the building to try to fit it into that construction cost estimate. But having done that once already, we feel like really the only option would be to fill that gap with additional funding. And we are starting to look at what options may exist for that. We certainly believe that we have put ample local funding on the table. So it's really looking for sources beyond local public funding to cover any kind of gap that might come out. So having said that, it's unclear at this point. We don't have a go-to fill that gap. And so we will come back to you and give you an update on the actual construction costs as they become finalized, and also any progress we've made to fill that gap. So that's a very real challenge ahead of us. Everybody should be ready for, and we'll work hard to try to find a solution for it.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
Is there a point at which the construction costs would be also locked in terms of signing a development agreement that would, I realize that's not this specific resolution, but just since you mentioned that gap funding.
Could you ask the first part of that question again? I didn't hear it.
Is there an opportunity to lock in the construction costs at some point, like in terms of a development agreement that would, be able to make that more predictable as opposed to just there's going to be gap funding and we're not sure how much it's going to be yet?
Yeah, well, I think that we will have a better, so, we have a first preview, or in the process of getting a first preview for the, so the process is, you sort of do an internal assessment. So the first thing is Access said, like, based on what we know right now, this is what we think it'll be. The second is they kind of went in and did that a little bit more thoroughly, and we're getting a sense that these costs are going to be going up relative to the original estimate. I think it becomes hardened at the point that ultimately you get the bid document, and you pick your bids. Those can always have, changes associated with it. So there's still a little bit of change possibility, but largely the costs then kind of get locked in when you've gotten those bids in, you've selected your contractors. Because in fact, what you do is you kind of lock them in themselves to what they've committed to. So there will be a moment, we're not at that moment right now, and we won't be until we really go out to the market to see what the construction costs will be. And there's a timing consideration that, there's a strategy involved in, with the timing of when you go out, and because if you're going out at a time when there are a lot of other jobs out there, number one, you may not get as many bidders. Number two, you may get elevated bid costs. So there's a little bit of a strategy of picking the timing correctly to go to market to get the best possible pricing we can get.
Yeah, just to add to that, this is Dave Walter. We've been bidding roofing projects at Indiana University, and we're finding out that costs are going up about 5 to 15% for materials, and the entire production of some of the roofing membranes has already been asked for this year. So we may end up having to wait until next year just to get roofing membrane. And then we've run into this on pricing for metals, glass. Fortunately, limestone we dig out of the ground down here, but fuel costs are extremely high, and that is another factor. So as he's saying, as this gets developed and designed, then there'll be an opportunity to go back and adjust the cost estimates to be more in what real-time pricing is like. Right now it's speculation.
All right, any other questions from the commissioners? Any questions or comments from the public? All right, not seeing any. I'll entertain a motion for resolution 22-15.
This is Deb Hutton. I will, I make a motion to approve resolution 22-15.
This is David Walter. I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a first and a second. I need a roll call vote, please.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Lee Arnie, yes. Resolution 22-15 passes unanimously. Next item of business, resolution 22-16. Who would like to speak regarding this resolution?
I guess I could give a brief overview, and then the many staff members on the call can correct anything that I misspeak on. As you all know, we've been using originally, actually, they were Core Planning Strategies has been our consultant. They were a consultant for the parking garages, but we also hired them to help us out on the Hopewell site, the Legacy Hospital site. And they were acquired and they changed their name to JS Held. And so we want to continue using them. They've been fantastic for us, but we wanted to extend their contract through 2022, because as you know, this is the time that the Hopewell site's kind of heating up, and those kind of services are vital to keeping on task and keeping on timeline for that project. So what this addendum does is essentially extends that contract through the end of 2022, and it would cost us an additional $250,000 for those services for 2022, which would be bring the grand total not to exceed amount of their contract to $367,342. You'll see in the packet, we've included both the amendment that we've agreed to, kind of the services, which includes a breakdown of staffing and costs, in addition to the original contract and how it fits into the overall project budget, which originally, just to draw your attention, we had budgeted $367,000 total, and this bumps it up by $342 to $367,342. I'm sure Alex or John or Jeff or even Deb Kuntz, who is here with us from JS Held, can fill in the gaps as needed.
I'll start, and then if Deb wants to jump in as well. So, I think, Larry, I don't know if you said this explicitly, but the services are project management. And, I think for anybody who's worked on a project of this complexity, and it is a hugely complex project, it is critically important to have a very detailed project management function, detail-oriented function in place, and strong project management in place to successfully pull the project off. It, I think, touches almost every department of the city and a whole bunch of other players outside of the city to try to get everybody, all the cats corralled for the project is quite an undertaking. So I think they're going to earn their every penny of this. The other thing that is involved in this, if you recall back several years ago, we began to look at a role that we were referring to as an owner's representative. And essentially what that role is to prepare for parcel for the sale and or other disposition of parcels to go find and pick the right developers, to determine whether those developers are actually proposing projects that are aligned with the master plan, and then to get them in over the finish line and get them building. So we were engaged in a search a while back to find that function. And we put that on hold, but we find, given the timing of the project right now, it's a good time to reopen that. One of the benefits I think that JS Held brings is that it's more than just project management as a company, and they bring an embedded owner's representative function. So what we're able to do is jumpstart that process through this agreement. So JS Held can kind of help us get going on that, while at the same time helping us do an evaluation of the longer term owner's representative function, which may or may not be JS Held, but over the long term to set us up for success for what will be a multi-year project. And then one of the functions noted in, I think, some of the detail here is the search for and selection of an appropriate real estate brokerage function that can help with that staging and marketing of the opportunities. So you'll see all of that reflected here. And that's a slight expansion of the duties that they've been performing for us up till now, but it's a critically important one because we're at that moment in time where having this additional set of resources to help us stage this is important. Deb, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Well, I would just add on top of that, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to continue forward. I know a couple of meetings ago back at the end of January, I think there was a question about the $250,000 and how many hours was that? And so we did provide that information's been provided in the amendment as well. So hopefully that answers that question. And as Alex pointed out, I think what you're seeing here in the increase for 2022 is really a reason of, there's two reasons. One is the owner's rep scope that Alex talked about, but also the fact that there is just more going on this year than there was last year, right? And so most of that was in IU Health Court last year, and just things are starting to heat up in terms of activity. So you'll see an increase of hours commensurate to that.
All right, thank you. Questions from the commissioners? I have one question, and that would be around the owner's rep. So is it the intention that JSL would help formulate an RFP or RFQ of sorts for a future job description or?
Yeah, so that would be the idea, to the extent that they can, right? Because one of the complications is if they want to be one of the potential responders to an RFP, we need to make sure we have a little church and state separation going on. So so we will leverage them to the full ability that we can for that process that doesn't compromise their ability to potentially respond. So there's a lot of work. There's a lot of organizational work, not necessarily content related organizational work that they can help us with. I think the majority of their effort in the early stage owner's rep effort here for the first 6 months will really be in the determination of a real estate function and some of the other stuff that's going on. But in terms of that additional search, we will use them to the extent we can without limiting their ability to respond if they choose to.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? Not hearing any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for resolution 22-16.
This is Deborah Meyerson. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 22-16 for the amendment to the agreement with JSL.
This is David Walter. I'll second that motion.
A first and a second. Need a vote via roll call, please.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Cindy Canarney, yes. Resolution 22-16 passes unanimously. Next item of business is resolution 22-17, additional CDBG funds for emergency home repairs. Who'd like to speak to this?
I will, Madam President. John Zodi. Excuse me. I also have our program manager, John Hewitt, is on the meeting as well. So I'll ask John to fill in where I make mistakes, as Larry said. So what we have here, commissioners, tonight is another request for additional funds for an emergency home repair. We have a homeowner in Bloomington who the story, she has received funds on down payment assistance, if you will, as soon as she closed on her house. 2 weeks later, the storm in June hit and a tree fell on it. And since that time has been going through the minutia of insurance and has realized that her home basically needs to be completely gutted and dismantled and rebuilt from foundation to removing asbestos. And some of this has been done. We've been trying to help her along through this, and the emergency home repair actually can't exceed $7,500. The resolution says $3,500. That's a typo from this is a residence rather than this is a single family residence rather than a mobile home. So the cap is actually $7,500. What you have in your packet are 3 cost estimates, if you will, for the electrical work. Originally, we had started trying to assist her on the foundation. There's a wall on the foundation that is basically buckled. John can fill in there, but she found someone in the meantime, as she was going through all this, to do the foundation work. And while doing that, discovered when the asbestos was removed that all the wiring needed to be replaced in the entire house. And so got cost estimates for that. So you have a quote from ServPro in here that is multiple pages, which basically says, here's what needs to be done to the whole house based on our assessment. And then they kept finding more things. She got a quote from Woods Electrical, which is quoted her at $12,475 for all the electrical. Then John Hewitt ran our system, which is Home Developer Pro, which kind of estimates things out, and he adjusted some for cost increases. That was $8,683. And her insurance can cover about $3,000 of this. So Woods will be doing the work. We felt just for due diligence purposes, we need to have some other estimates out there. So we asked them for the ServPro, which has some electrical, only about $2,300. I think that was prior to realizing the extent of the electrical work that needed to be done in the house. So she's asking for additional help, which would be around $9,500, we think, at the end of the day, to help out with the overall $12,475 for the Woods electrical work that would be done. Woods is a vetted vendor with the city, so that is, they are vetted. And so that is the ask tonight, to cost to not exceed $10,000 just for any buffer of any pluses or minuses on the final amount. And I'll ask John to fill in if I missed anything there, John. John Hewitt, you with us? Yep.
No.
Apparently not.
Maybe he was on. He's got a sound issue, but anyway, so that's the story. We've met with the homeowner and her sort of service rep multiple times, and this is, I think, the best use of the rehab dollars is to do it on the electrical, so that she can get the rest of the house put back together. So quite a journey for her.
This is a grant, not a loan. Okay.
Any questions from the commissioners?
My question is just more about how the emergency homeowner programs work, which is she's eligible because she had down payment assistance through the city, and that kind of created the opportunity to kind of leverage that, or how do folks who get emergency home repair assistance through CDBG typically get them?
They applied, so we just have it. So the down payment assistance actually was locally funded. That was through the Recover Forward program.
In terms of like eligibility, in terms of income.
Yeah,
strategy,
she was right at 80%. So she met the income qualifications, and turned out needed, after the tree fell, it just was a Pandora's box, as it turns out. So she filled out the application, and we tried to help her. So basically, mostly based on income.
So the amount that's being requested is amounts that are not covered by the insurance.
That's correct. Basically, if you
So
look
the
at the,
insurance is, we'll put it back together, but since, you found asbestos and that was removed and then discovered the electrical.
yeah, so it was like sort of just that they
Yeah.
literally kind of peeling back an onion here. They kept finding things, and so we said, okay, we can only help with this amount. I think the ServPro estimate was $60,000 or something like that, and the foundation work could be done. She already had money for that, and so we said, okay, what else is there? And the electrical seemed to be the best case. And we looked at the regulations, and easily is a safety. It's a issue you don't have at the house. You got to have electrical. So we thought it was a good use of the funds, and taking $3,000 off that $12,475 would take her down to about $9,500, and that's what she's looking to get that gap filled.
Are there any other questions from commissioners?
This will get her back in the home, residing in the single family home.
Yes. After
Let's
this is
say,
all done. So,
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from commissioners? Any questions or comments from the public? Christina, there's a couple in the chat. Is that any
It's
questions?
not showing up here.
Okay.
And that's because you're logged into the computer, so they're probably just sending them to the host directly.
I just want to make sure we're not missing any comments.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. I'll entertain a motion for resolution 22-17.
This is David Walter. I'll make a motion. We accept resolution 22-16. 17.
This is Deb Hutton. I second.
A first and a second. I need a vote via roll call, please.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Myerson, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Cindy Canardi, yes. Resolution 22-17 passes unanimously. All right, next item on the agenda is general discussion. Anything that we need to discuss?
This is David Walter. Want to announce that after some 30, almost 40 years on the Redevelopment Commission, my health issues will require me to resign. And can't say it's effective today, but in a couple of weeks, I may be able to make that meeting. But after that, it's uncertain that I will be here. So sorry about this, but it was expected. And I'll work with Larry Allen on whatever's necessary to get this more formal.
Well, I'll miss you. I'm a newbie this year, but I've certainly already learned a lot from you. So, and was looking forward to learning a lot more from your years of wisdom and experience. So good luck with your health.
Very sorry to
Thank
hear, David.
Thank you for your service, David.
Yeah, appreciate it, Dave. You'll be sorely missed in regards to your expertise and history and knowledge. You've added a lot to the redevelopment over the years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just getting used to seeing Randy sitting there, and now you're gone.
All right, any other business for general discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Night.